Welcome to the Bank Tellers. My name's Zach, Anderson Pettet, VP Fintech Strategy here at Money 2020. Hilariously, though, this is my second time as VP Fintech Strategy. The first time was at NBKC Bank with the one, the only, the legend, one of my favorite humans on earth, Melissa Eggleston, who I was about to say is the Chief Deposit Officer, but she's not just the Chief Deposit Officer. She's the Chief Deposit and Operations Officer at NBKC Bank. Woo, gets to go. I didn't butcher that after I got really excited about it, did I? That was correct?
No.
Okay, good.
Right. Yeah.
Good. How you doing, Mel?
Oh, so good. So good to see you.
So good to see you too. So a little bit of background for the listeners about I guess it was like 5 years ago. I was working inside this NBKC bank place and kind of not sure what banking was, and had the privilege of spending a couple years, 3 years almost, with Melissa and team. And the only reason I know anything other than occasionally picking up a book and kind of being able to read is the NBKC bank team. So I'm going to start with a thank you. And then
love it. We'll take it all day long. And I love that you wore your KC hat.
This is the other insider baseball is I wasn't able to wear a hat when I became an official employee at NBKC. Now in Money 2020, we put the hat back on specifically for this interview. So here we are. All right. So let's jump in. This NBKC place that we're talking about. Let's give folks a little bit of background, and then we'll get some more on you as well here, Melissa. So tell us how long you've been at the bank, as well as your journey into your current role. And the fun part is in 2 minutes or less. And I won't actually cut you off, but I just want to make things hard on you.
Well, you can hook me, no problem. So I've been at the bank 8 years, community banker for my entire career. Started at the bank as a chief deposit officer, first female executive on the team. Whoop. And just have slowly grown our business from being a local brick and mortar branch locations in Kansas City to nationwide deposit offering, and then a nationwide fintech practice.
So paint that picture a little more for us. Like when you joined 8 years ago as a chief deposit officer, what were your mechanisms to take in deposits? Like I had to walk in and give you some money, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, just imagine you're in the town that you were raised, or, a metro city, and the community that you're living in. And you say, you know what, I want to go cash my paycheck. I want to go open an account with my local bank. That was us. We were here. We've born and bred in Kansas City and have remained true to that. And at the time, we had 6 locations here in town, and now we have 4. One of them is the headquarters, which is where I'm located. So it was people walking in with their families, cashing their paychecks, small to medium-sized businesses, all the things. Yeah.
I guess I should do a little disclaimer that I'm still an NBKC customer, and as a fintech nerd, living the fintech life that says fintech 175 times a day, I still walk into the NBKC branch at least once a quarter, and I could not live life without that. Anyways, small commercial that was not a commercial. We're moving on. So what's NBKC's biggest business line? This is kind of a softball, but we'll go there.
Yeah, well, we started as a home loan originator. So we do mortgages all across the country. We've done that direct to consumer. Actually, it predates the bank. So the bank celebrated its 20th year in business this year. And that was probably prior to me joining and us really focusing on deposits and fintech. That was really where our bread and butter was. Fast forward 6 years, we have a banking as a service practice where we have 13 partners today that have been a substantial part of our deposit growth. And then, of course, we took our business nationwide. So we open consumer and small business accounts for deposit customers all over the country. So those are probably our 2 fastest growing businesses for the bank today.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what it was like, or how rare it is, I guess, to have a community bank doing specifically online business banking? That was something that I was so fascinated by. I think you were building it. Yeah. I think it got shipped when I was still there, but you were building it when I was there, and I couldn't believe the complexity, and it felt like something I thought the world already had, and they didn't.
Yeah, I would say, if you start looking at any neobank, which I would not characterize us that way, but if you were looking at any neobank, they were really focused on the consumer space. Mm-hmm. It was a lot easier to KYC or perform know your customer on a consumer and individual than it was a business, just because of all the different state documentation required, et cetera, et cetera. And so we just decided that it was a good niche for us to move forward. It really isn't complicated to bank businesses. Like community banks do that all day long.
Right.
And so we felt like we could transition that knowledge of customers walking into our branches and opening those accounts to an online experience. And so a customer today can come in and open an account in 10 minutes or less with their business. And we're super proud of what we've built. We actually built our onboarding solution for consumers and businesses. So we get to control our entire customer onboarding workflow and the way we communicate and the way we work through that work stream.
It feels like a blessing and a curse, honestly, to have worked inside of NBKC, because I take so many of the cultural pieces for granted of just like technology first, the mortgage division got so big because of the internet existing, like all of these sorts of things. And it's a community bank down Ward Parkway in Kansas. Like I could drive to you right now in 15 minutes, but it would just make editing harder. So, it's just a bizarre time to be alive. So the next question, I kind of wonder if we're already starting to talk about it a little bit, but looking back, what has been the most kind of defining moment in the bank's growth from your perspective?
Yeah. Oh, that is really interesting. I've had the pleasure of seeing some transitions in leadership since I've been here, but also really major transitions and shifts in our business. Probably when we consider our branch network, not just thinking about expanding the branch network locally, but really taking that national. Mm-hmm. That was a really big step for the bank. I remember sitting in board meetings talking about all the things that we were building and how it was going to change our business. And I did that for several years because it takes a while. I mean, that is an investment for us to go out, build something. And it's not like Field of Dreams, like you build it, they will come. It's a little different than that. You had to have real focus. And so it's been really exciting to watch that part of our business change. And then honestly, Zach, when you were here and you were leading Found City FinTech and really getting ingrained in that, do you like that plug?
I was like, correct answer. I was waiting for you to say,
you did not pay me to do that. But I mean, if you just think about what it looked like for us to say, we want to be in partnership with technology companies who are building amazing solutions or direct to consumer offerings. That was a really big part of sort of the cultural change. I would say if you were to rewind history or rewind and look at history here, we've always been super technology focused.
Yeah.
Figuring out a better way and really comfortable building our own things, but really saying we're going to go do this. We're going to bank technology companies. We're going to be part of that ecosystem. Like that has been a big driver for our business as well. And it's been super exciting to watch those two things. I mean, those are the things I'm closest to, right? We're working on a lot of AI work today. That's been super exciting as well. Yeah, we have some tools deployed that our development team has built from the ground up. And so it's just it's a really exciting time to be alive here. I'm thinking, how about that?
It is an exciting time to be alive. It's funny that you say the AI thing though, because I remember that was 6 years ago that you all were you were using, AI in some way, shape or form. Maybe it wasn't generative AI, but it was AI to, help grow the business in some way, shape or form. So anyways, I guess that's just outside credence. Yes, you are and have been on the cutting edge. And I mean, why else would you hire me if you weren't on the cutting edge?
Yeah, well, exactly. That you paid me to say. He paid me to say.
No, I think I just said that and then you agreed with it because you felt bad.
We have to agree with you. Okay, good to know.
All right. So the next one is, and I think we kind of hinted at it a little bit, but me having been inside of the bank, I have a advantage of understanding the whole thing. Why did NBKC get into fintech? And the second piece is, how scary was it? Because when I was there, I was like this kid that was like, oh, this is all fun and exciting, and I don't understand safety and soundness, so let's just do it all, right? But sitting on the other side of that table, I don't think it was actually as much of just a game as I remember.
Yeah, I would say it was probably scarier to some than others. I think we tend to hire people here at the bank who are a little more progressive in thinking. They're not like, this is how we do it. I mean, rule following is important, right? Like we obviously want to do everything in a compliant way. But we're also willing to take risks around parts of our business where we think it can make sense. And we've always really liked to go pretty deep and niche-y in certain areas because we think that there is a real opportunity and we know that we could build, subject matter expertise. I would say, Zach, like if you were to rewind 5 years ago, there weren't a bunch of bankers who were just like totally homegrown and knew all the things about fintech and providing bank services to technology partners. And so there was a lot of learn on the fly. There was a lot of, what is going to make the most sense for us. I'd say that we stayed pretty true to who we are and went out and worked with partners that were pretty middle of the fairway, right? Weren't really edge case. We never been crypto, for example.
Right.
No issue with crypto, right? But like that has just been a place that we have decided not to play. And I think us just staying true to us, like that was a good thing. We know what it looks like to open deposit accounts, to issue debit cards to people, to manage payments risk. And so we just took all that expertise internally and said, we can figure out how to get there. We have amazing partners on our risk management team who are folks that are problem solvers, who try to figure out what it looks like to get it done versus saying, no, you can't. And so I think that philosophy also helps move the business forward. And honestly, we stayed really close to our regulators. We talked to them pretty regularly. I mean, you probably remember this.
Yeah.
We had conversations about things that we were going to go chase and that we were going to go do. And honestly, I think that's been a really positive thing for us as well.
So this is a perfect lead into the next question.
Oh,
and it's funny, actually. So I was having a conversation last night with another local bank CEO here in Kansas City by the name of Jackie Reeses, who maybe, happens to be a little bit of a legend in the fintech space. And, somebody worth digging into their history if you don't know about them. And we'll link to that in the show notes as well. Having the conversation with Jackie, who runs Lead Bank, and Lead Bank is kind of one of the preeminent banking as a service banks, but also, just doing a lot of cutting edge stuff in the space. And we were having a conversation about something coming up in Money 2020. I gave her a little hint as to something going on. And I told her that nbkc may be one of the groups that might be involved in this thing. And the next thing that she said was, oh, that's so interesting. I keep hearing that name. These fintech companies just love working with them. I even hear companies that don't work with them that love working with them. So the question was going to be like, why would a consumer pick nbkc over another bank? But I want to take it the, embedded finance banking as a service direction of, why would a fintech pick nbkc over any other bank in the BaaS space?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a whole lot going on in our space today, like just BaaS in general.
It's a nice way to phrase it. Very polite and
move
on by.
Right? No, I mean, there's a whole lot that everybody can go out and read, and you can pick and choose the notes that you think are appropriate and et cetera. But I would say that, I mean, this is another approach, the way that we just approached business. We always knew we were going to have a direct relationship with our partners. We knew that from day one. We wanted to meet people in person. We wanted to look them in the eye. We wanted to be able to pick up the phone and call them if we needed something and vice versa. Like that's what we're here for. Like that. I mean, frankly, that's like at the very, very basics, community relationship banking. And so I would say we've just taken that to a totally different level when it comes to our fintech partners. Like these are the most forward-thinking technology partners who generally want to solve problems in a completely non-bank headway, right?
Yeah.
Where they're the experts on the customer experience and the technology build. And then we're here to say, well, from a regulatory perspective or a banking perspective, this is what it should look like. So I'd say our people are a huge driver, right? Everybody can say that, but like I firmly believe that. And I would just say our approach to just staying very close and having regular cadence around our relationship has been super important. I mean, if you start looking at what it looks like to have non-direct relationships with your bank, like something's weird, something starts going south, you start reading things. I mean, that would be very challenging for someone who's trying to go out and run a really stable business that serves customers. I mean, I can't imagine not having a relationship with a, critical partner of mine, direct relationship. So,
I mean, no matter
West, I mean, I would just say generally, we have a good sense of humor too. We don't I can go on and on, but we just don't take ourselves too seriously. we know what it looks like to do the right things, and we want to work with our partners to do that. So
I think the humanity of it is really the biggest thing. Like having been, after I left the auspices of NBKC, I joined a banking as a service company in San Francisco, and I would definitely define that organization as an indirect in terms of the way it was handling things. And having kind of been inside of the direct and seen the indirect and taking a step back, like it seemed I consistently remember, I kind of feel like a 12-year-old saying this a little bit, but I consistently remember kind of getting kicked out of the room when things were getting to a point where it actually mattered, right? Like I was kind of go find exciting things, bring them in,
sure,
right?
sure,
And then it would get to a point where, well, how are we going to structure this, right? How is this actually going to work? And it was always a very mutual conversation, figuring it out together. And then there was always a phone, and it wasn't your office phone, right? It was Mel picking up her cell phone and having the hard conversation.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I think has been lost in this conversation for a long time is even if things are going incredibly well, there's still going to be problems, right?
Sure.
And you're still going to have to have that conversation. And if you're indirect, how do you do that? Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, just that the Midwesternness, the fact that you can have a little chuckle along the side of it for sure. But I mean, the conversation and the willingness to lean all the way in and figure it out together feels very rare.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's really easy to call someone a vendor. I mean, that has never been our desire. Like we're not run a charter here. We're not, we want to grow at the right pace for us and our partners. And we honestly want to be a catalyst for them. And so that means that we have to get out of their way sometimes. But we also have to be available and work through really difficult conversations sometimes. That is true in any relationship around really major pillars of someone's business.
Yeah. And if you think about, I mean, this is not what we're talking about and not something NBKC does, but if you think about earned wage access, something like earned wage access never even comes to be if a banker and a technologist don't sit down and have a really hard conversation about the way things did work and how they should. So anyway, I love it. Let's get a little more personal. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit leadership, a little bit of future vision, and then we're going to do some rapid fire. Okay. So I'm actually curious in a unique way because I have sat in so many business meetings with you, have obviously had business dinners and all that, but I haven't had a ton of opportunities to just pick your brain individually. So I'm actually really curious about these. What is the best piece of advice that you have ever received and how has it shaped your career?
Oh gosh, I've had a lot of folks sort of
oh gosh, I love
things. I mean, honestly, my husband said this to me, and this is not a husband-wife piece of advice. It's probably just business person to business person. He's like, if you take the risk, what's the worst thing that could really happen? Let's talk about the worst thing. Did not work out. Okay. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to do exactly what you normally do, which is get on back out there and figure it out. So that was probably about risk. And not knowing, this whole weighing of a decision, what's going to be best. I mean, you just sometimes don't know. You just have to take the leap. So asking for help is a big one. I think some people really have a challenge, raising their hand and saying, hey, I don't understand this. Tell me more about this. Why are we doing this? Because it can portray this insecurity or lack of knowledge. I've never really felt that way. So people saying, ask for help, ask lots of questions. And I would say my biggest piece of advice that I think has served me well in my career has been about curiosity. Mm-hmm. I want to ask a lot of questions. I like to dig a layer deeper, say the thing that's in your head. If you have another question, just ask it. Yep. So curiosity is a huge one for me. That's how I get to know my friends. That's how I get to know my colleagues. And honestly, most of our partners too.
Well, and it's just how you function as a human, right? To your point on it's how you get to know your friends. I guess it's to some degree a Midwestern thing of when friends influence people or something. But I think that's just being human. And to your point, the earlier point, when I joined NBKC and then when I left NBKC, through that process, I realized that I will never know 70%, 50% of what there is to know about banking. And I think before joining the organization, I think I was really afraid to ask dumb questions. And then ironically, the CEO at the time, Brian Unruh, would ask what many people would consider to be dumb questions, because it was just it was a first principles question. It wasn't a dumb question. It was just, he was legitimately not going to be bullshitted, and he was going to ask the obvious question that everybody was thinking, but everybody was too afraid to ask.
Yeah.
And that was part of the culture. So it definitely, like, the curiosity muscle inside of banking of fintechs feels actually very important, not just on a human level, but a business level.
Yeah, I mean, don't you want to know sort of what like makes someone tick, like what matters most to them? I mean, I feel that way about people in business, and I feel that way about people I spend my time with. So, yeah.
So do you have personal, as a mother and a very busy executive, this is going to be interesting, but do you have personal growth priorities or any portion of your life that you're trying to grow in right now? Maybe more so outside of work.
Yeah, I don't know if it's like growth per se. It's probably, I guess it could be lumped in the bucket of growth. It's probably about like presence. I have an 18-month-old, and I think about what it looks like to spend time at my home with my family. And then I think about what it looks like to spend time with my team and colleagues here. And it's just really like this intentional focus on when I'm here, I'm here. And when I'm home, I try to be as home as I can be, because I recognize that I can't always be great at both of them at the same time. And so if I can just start and stop and be great here, and then start and stop and be great here. And then obviously I, probably am feeling in both areas at times, but that I'm giving myself permission to be way more present. That includes my family relationship too, like my family and friends. Gosh,
I love that, Melissa.
Yeah, it's
that's
hard
awesome.
though. It is so hard. I mean, gosh, we're attached to our phones. We're available constantly, and that's not going away. But I just want to make sure that I'm really available and not just there. So yeah, that's a pretty big personal goal.
That's definitely growth. Yeah. It's in the bucket for sure.
Yeah.
I love that. What advice would you give to someone aspiring to be in your position one day?
Yes. So say yes. Say yes to things you've never done before, even if you don't know how, you can't see the forest through the trees, just say yes. And then during that, ask lots of questions, because generally speaking, most people started somewhere like me or you, Zach, where, somebody gave you a chance to do something you've never done before. Maybe you thought you had like this general idea of what success looked like. And then you were able to plot a path. So I would just say yes, ask lots of questions, ask for help. And frankly, don't be afraid to ask someone to be your mentor and bounce things off of, because I think that's super important too.
Hell yeah. I could not agree more. I love that. It's rapid fire time. Let's get to it. If you were not in banking, Melissa Eggleston, what career would you have pursued?
I'd be in the culinary arts.
Oh, not even a chef. She'd be in the culinary arts.
Yeah, it would be a chef. Fine. Doesn't culinary arts sound better?
Sounds so much better.
And honestly, this is not bounce it back to the growth goal. I would love to be more of a chef at home. I would love to do that, but that takes work. So anyways, culinary arts. That's what I do. All
right. Sometime in 2025, you and I are going to take a cooking class somewhere together.
Okay, let's
On
do
to
it.
the next rapid fire. Describe your leadership style in 3 words.
Open, direct, and competitive.
I can vouch for all 3, especially the third. Definitely competitive.
Let's win.
Yeah.
Not at all cost, but let's win.
But at most cost. Yeah. Coke or Pepsi?
Oh, Pepsi all the way. And it's pop, not soda.
Ooh, now we're really getting into Midwestern fights.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the first app you check in the morning?
Oh, my nbkc app. Come on. That was so easy.
She checks her balance every morning.
I would tell you, I'm still a social media person. I like to see what people have done overnight, I suppose. I don't know. Instagram, Facebook. Yeah.
The next, I think you might have the same answer to the next question. What's in your wallet / how do you pay? What's the top of wallet?
Oh, so I'm actually use my Southwest card a lot. Yeah,
She likes the point.
I do. We're a hub. Yeah, but I of course use my nbkc debit card.
Well, of course. That's the one place we disagree. I'm Delta now. You're Southwest. I guess we're just gonna have to fight into different terminals in KCI.
My husband has Delta, so we're good.
Okay.
We got it all covered.
All right. Okay. As long as we're at least somewhere in the family on the same page. Okay. Closing segment. Mel, what's one message you'd like to leave with our listeners today? Be it inspirational, advice, your favorite quote, tell them not to litter, anything you'd like.
Oh yeah, don't litter.
Start there.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that one. Oh gosh, these are hard. These are like rapid fire. I'm just supposed to have this off the top of my head.
We don't mess around here, Mel.
Yeah. Be yourself. I mean, honestly, I think too often people are worried about what their coworkers or their boss or their friends, how they think they should act. Just be yourself. Be authentic. Be true to you.
Hell yeah. That's a wonderful note to end on. Melissa, thank you so much for the time. Thank you for everything you've taught me through the years. Just getting to do this has actually been very cathartic in a wonderful way. And thank you.
Sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Closure, except for the part where I'm going to see you in like 23 days.
Right.
But yeah, that part.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome and so appreciated. And we'll have to do a check-in down the line.
Okay, let's do it.